Welcome, everybody. Oh, I don't know if you heard that, but the recording has started. It's official. Welcome to our first virtual Insights Fireside. This is something that the Teachers Guild has wanted to do for a while, and we're so pleased that you guys were ready to jump in and try something brand new with us. Where we are, so just to give you a little bit of background on who we are and how you guys got here. The Teachers Guild, we are a professional community for teachers who are designing better solutions for their students and schools every day. And the way that our community is structured is that we provide a space where teachers can go beyond school walls, and by working together and collaborating, they go through the IDEO's design thinking process. So where we are is that we've just closed the first phase of the design thinking process, which we call Discover. And in Discover, we're not designing yet in the Discover phase. We're out researching, we're putting ourselves in users' shoes. So particularly with this question around teachers, putting ourselves in our colleagues' shoes. And we're also looking at analogous solutions to the question that we're asking outside of the space that we're working in. So it's really, in the Discover phase, it's really a chance to seek inspiration before you even begin the design process. And on Tuesday, we actually switched from the Discover phase to the Ideate phase. And so now we're in the Ideate phase where we get to actually put our new concepts out. But we still go back to the Discover phase for inspiration, for research, and that foundation for where our ideas come from. So just wanted to give a little bit of that background of where we are in the design process and how we think about this journey. And so right now, the Guild is running 30 design challenges in the next 3 years, and we're selecting these challenges, which we call collaborations, based on questions that really matter to teachers. And so this question that we're working with you guys on professional learning, where it came from was actually from these extraordinary conversations with the folks at the Sonoma County Office of Education. We had a kickoff meeting, and in talking about professional development and hopes for teachers across Sonoma County, what we were able to pull out was that there's so many changes that are happening in our classrooms today when you look at technology and personalized learning in a global world and expectations around 21st century learning. And so how do we keep up with the evolving and changing needs of our students in our classrooms today? That was a big theme that we pulled out around professional learning. It was also a big theme was, how do we stay inspired? Teaching is probably the most human-centered profession you can get into. Anybody who comes into teaching is focused on students first. It's a mission-driven field. But often, as you get farther into your career, you can hit these real low valleys. And so how do you pull yourself out of these valleys, get to those peaks, and remain inspired so you can be the best teacher for your students in your classroom? And then the third theme that we really pulled out from working with Sonoma County was how important professional learning is for just creating the best experience and the best learning opportunities for our students in our classrooms. And that teachers are learners too. And so how do we create these extraordinary opportunities for teachers? So that's how we came up with our question on how might we reimagine professional learning so we continue to learn, so we feel inspired, and we can have the greatest impact on our students. As well as working with Sonoma County, who else before we introduce all of our panelists, I also want to let you know that we have an incredible ecosystem of partners who are committed to helping teachers bring their best solutions to life. And just this belief that teachers are our most powerful innovators, and teachers should be designing the future of education. And that cohort of partners that we call Build Partners who've joined in this collaboration and who are going to be partnering, particularly when we get to the Evolve phase, and helping take ideas even further in partnership with teachers and hopefully implementing with teacher teams some of the ideas. Those partners that are excited to be partnering with you and with the Sonoma County Office of Education and the Guild generally we have Google for Education, we have Autodesk, One Workplace, and One Workplace is going to share an exciting announcement next week around a neat prize they have. We have the new teacher project and ed camps. I think I saw Tiffany joining in this call from the new teacher project, and their Fishman Prize winners are going to be stirring it up and helping design along the way in this experience. I know Kevin Jarrett from Ed Camps has jumped on, and Chris from One Workplace. So excited to have these folks who really believe in teachers as designers, and excited to partner with you guys on the extraordinary ideas you're about to begin to design. So to get us started, I'd love for the teachers who are here, I don't know if should we have everybody, I would love for everybody to just just say hi. And maybe everybody be like, hey, hi, like jump on, say hi. I know maybe where you're dialing in from, and then we'll get started from there. Also, when you jump on and say hi, we're going to be sharing this video out farther. If you could also be like, yes, you can record, or be like, yes, you can record me and share this more widely. That would be helpful, just to make sure. And if you do not want us to be doing that, then this is probably not the right conversation to be joining at this time. We'll have to find another moment for you to voice your opinions loudly and widely. That sound good?
Molly, can you see us?
I was just going to say, you might want to look at the participant list and maybe go down alphabetical. You could sort of say, like, Amanda, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I will do that. Why don't we start? Valerie, why don't you start and just give a hi and where you're from and a yay or nay? All right. Nope.
Oh, she's muted.
She's muted.
Am I muted?
No. Okay, I did mute it. So sorry. So I'm Valerie, and I'm from Kenilworth Junior High in Petaluma, Sonoma County. And,
hi, Valerie. Great. Thanks. All right. And then how about Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm from Sonoma County and in Santa Rosa at the moment.
Hi, Rachel. All right. Mary Reynolds. Yes. All right. Great.
I'm Mary Reynolds. I'm in Santa Rosa, California, and I love when I'm recorded. So go for it.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Mary. How about Kelly?
Hi. I'm Kelly. I'm Kelly Materi. I'm from Sonoma County Office of Education, and it's okay to record me.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. How about Jen?
Hi, Jen Ortling House, Petaluma, California. Go ahead and record.
All right. Jeff.
Jeff McFarland, Horicon Elementary, way out on Annapolis, and yes, it's okay to record.
Oh, awesome. Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin Conrad. I work at Rankin Valley Charter School in Santa Rosa, and I also work as the STEM CT for Rankin Valley Unified, and yes, it's okay to record me. And I have to disappear for about 10 minutes, and then I'll be back.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Erin. All right, Emily.
Hi. So I'm Emily Bartlett. I'm from Autodesk, and I sit in our Pier 9 office in San Francisco.
Hi, Emily. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And then Dan Callahan.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm calling in from Massachusetts, and you can record me and my cat.
Oh, ooh! All right. I should have brought my miniature dachshund. We would have had a cat and dog off. All right. I think that we've got most of the teachers. We also have other folks on the call beyond the Build partners. We have some of our amazing coaches. We have Paula and James on the line. And I think we have Sarah Lundy, who's been the incredible mastermind behind this entire collaboration for Sonoma County, joining us too. Sarah, I don't know if you have any words of wisdom to share.
I gotta unmute us. We just want to say welcome and thanks for being part of this with us.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Dan. All right, so to get us started, one of the ways that we like to begin any sort of collaboration is starting off the conversation around hopes and also fears. And so just with this question around professional learning, most of you I have participated in the past collaboration. I know Kelly had some ideas around how roller derby saved her life. You have Erin, who talked about her professional development journey. You have Jen, who was thinking about, Oxford cafes and how that related to professional learning. Dan was thinking about community values. You guys you've already put in a bunch of research and starting inspiration around professional learning. So I'd love to start off and ask a couple of you. I'm going to ask about hopes, and then I'll probably just call out, ask certain people to respond. If you would like to respond to this question, chat me and Brett, and then we can also bring you in. But we'll have about 3 or 4 people respond to this question around hopes and fears. Does that sound like a good starting point for us? So my question for all of us to begin with is, thinking about this question of professional learning, what are your biggest hopes around professional learning for yourself? And for teachers at your school, and then thinking about the education space. And then thinking about that hopes in another way of reframing it is where do you see the most exciting opportunities? And so I think the first person I'd love to answer, who's on my screen, is Jen from Petaluma. Jen, what are some of your biggest hopes and opportunities that you see around professional learning for teachers today?
I'm hoping that there is a variety offered of professional learning. Within my school district, it kind of depends on what your particular administration think is important. I am married to a teacher in this district, and they have a really high priority placed on technology at their school. They have a lot of opportunities to have conferences paid for. If we were to go to certain conferences, we'd pay out of pocket. So I'd like, maybe a more variety. Also, just within our long days of professional development that maybe occur right before school's about to start, and we're all thinking about our classrooms, just a variety within the day, not just being lectured to the whole entire time, more of a participant, more participation from ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's great. And I mean, Jen, this was your first time participating in the Guild. I remember your tweet that you sent out and you were like, I posted something. There was so much fear and uncertainty in putting the idea out there. So what was it about this question that made you feel like, oh, I should participate in this? What is this personally for you?
There were a couple things. Just purely personally, I am used to kind of not being listened to because I think differently than a lot of the people on my site. So just the fact that
oh, there you are.
My idea was even honored. And then having the invitation to the rollout, that was a big deal. And the presentation at the rollout, that we got to interact with a bunch of different colleagues. And once the presentation was over, it was like, okay, keep talking or we're going to honor your time, which was a huge statement from anybody. You can go to your work. And it was very respectful, and it felt like a professional. So I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know that Mary had some ideas around sort of hopes and opportunities around professional learning. Mary.
Hi. Yeah, my contribution was around lesson study, just because as a classroom teacher, that was the most transformational professional development I ever participated in. And it wasn't driven by administration. It wasn't an administrator telling me, okay, this is what you need to focus on as far as the standards for mathematical practice are concerned and how it should look in your classroom. It was 100% teacher driven. And it was so transformational. And it's actually a big part of the reason why I became a principal, because I really identified with the leadership practices that we learned And my favorite part of that 4-year program, which was offered through Sonoma County Office of Education, was all the leadership learning and facilitation that took place. And so I learned how to become, in my own opinion, a good facilitator, and comfortable with facilitating others in conversations about instructional practices, instructional strategies, Common Core math. I ended up writing my master's thesis last year on the standards for mathematical practice and their implications in the elementary classroom. It was fun, glad it's done. But I always just and as a principal now, I would feel very uncomfortable telling teachers, this is what I want you to work on. I don't think that's effective leadership. It's definitely not my leadership style. And as a teacher being on the other side of it recently, 2 or 3 years ago, it was just really powerful for me to have buy-in and agency around what I was doing and how it was impacting students in my classroom. And also, this is the last thing I'll say, I think perhaps the most powerful thing was that professional development I experienced through Project Lead was really 100% focused not only on leadership practices, but also on student thinking. So it was really, really, really focused on what are the students thinking and how can we help them and support their thinking instead of do the thinking for them.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Awesome. I mean, even just pulling out some of like the themes from between like you and Jen, hearing thoughts on like variety, being teacher driven, being able to, guide your own. We heard this a lot from the Sonoma County Office of Education, like being able to like own your own path. But I think this is interesting to think about how you blend like leadership with also how you partner with students and thinking. So how about Jeff? Jeff, what?
Yes,
I see you there, buddy. Yeah, it's like pointing to people in the back of the
question for me. I want to be clear on what my objective is.
The question would be so.
Sorry, it's a little bit of a delay.
Go ahead.
So, would you repeat the question?
Yes. The question is like, what are your biggest hopes around what's possible with professional learning today, or where do you think the most exciting opportunities are?
Well, in my particular situation, our collective biggest hope at the school is just access to it. We are an hour and a half away, and so that's a 3-hour round trip where I ideally would love to be able to access it from the comfort of our own offices, where we could logically say, yeah, I can give an hour, sit down right after school, collaborate with a group of teachers, real and meaningful, concrete. That I'd really love to see it go down the trajectory of not being talked at, but as I'm sure many of you have reiterated and have the same thoughts, is not being talked at, but really truly collaborating with other teachers. I heard that we had, was it Dan from Minnesota, Michigan? The idea that we could be online right now talking to each other and really sharing interests and ideas and have it be relevant. Because we all know at the end of a day of teaching, our brains are ready to shut down. And if it's not engaging, that's just where we're going to go, just like our students would go to that same place. If all day we're just being talked at, I know I start to tune out no matter how hard I try. We wouldn't do it to our students. So it doesn't really logically make sense that we expect ourselves to be able to go through the same experience. So I think really what I would hope the most is that in the long run, what we get out of this is true effective change at the concrete level. If I need help on classroom management strategies, it doesn't really make sense for me to go to a class where it may be somebody who hasn't been in a classroom in 10 to 15 years who's trying to explain to me how to best manage my students today. It's just not logical. But if I can meet with fellow teachers and get some real true strategies, I can utilize that. The hardest part sometimes, though, is when we have to go to a conference that's remote. By the time we get there, we're not thinking about what's the strategy that I need. We're thinking about perhaps the drive, what difficulties did I have that day? I need to grade these things. I want to get out of here so I can cook dinner. I have my chores at home. All the other pull you out of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just hearing that sort of like, and these are it's funny because we've heard this from actually even other collaborations that we've done on the Guild, is this like teachers, like you as a teacher, when you're in your learning experience, you want to have, like, you think about putting how your students feel in that same sort of experience. And so are there opportunities that students and teachers want to learn in the same way, in the same sort of environments that they're creating for their own students, and so have those sort of same opportunities? So I feel like that's been like a theme that we've heard not only in this collaboration, but in earlier ones. And I think that's really relevant with how fast it feels like a lot of the evolution that's happening in education today. When you think about like maker movements or teachers taking on additional disciplines like coding or laser printing, or, you know, particularly in like the science field. So I think that's, or trying to be much more project-based in their classrooms. Lee, I think Lee's here. Lee, do you want to jump in and share a little bit about, like, Lee, you've done an incredible, I'm Molly, I haven't met you yet, but you've done an incredible job of inviting folks into the collaboration. Would love to hear, like, what are your hopes around this professional learning collaboration?
I guess my hopes around this is that, as Jeff was talking about, that it can be a true change in the way professional development is delivered, because it seems to be mostly about the deliverance and not about the reception. And one of the things I had put on as a sort of solution was that we would have days off that would allow us time, as Jeff was talking about. You know, nobody wants to do professional development from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. You're exhausted, your head is full of everything that happened during the day, and I can't get myself around new creative ideas. So I really would love to see something where, I don't know, we were kind of brainstorming around here that, you know, this 20% off time that you get when I was in industry to create new things was an exciting time, because you were fresh and you could do it when you wanted. If you wanted to get up at 5 in the morning and go for a run and then do it. I was just down at the Buck Institute talking to one of their researchers who said exactly that. She's like, I come in at 5, I set up my experiment, I go for a run, I come back, I take a shower, I get ready for the meeting, I do a meeting, then I do my experimentation. Now, you know, she might be there till 6 at night, and she's been there since 5 in the morning, but her time is completely structured the way it works for her. And they have sort of joint meeting times that everybody keeps precious to talk to their colleagues. But my thought around the classroom was that you could have 4 days of teaching, and the 5th day would be a sort of collaboration / individual time. So you could work with smaller groups of students. My son taught down at High Tech High, the first charter school down in San Diego, where they had 20 students in the morning and 20 students in the afternoon. And in the middle of the day, the students went to their elective, and the core teachers met to discuss what they were working on in their projects, because it was all project-based. So they sort of had this little piece of time every day where they could meet with their colleagues and discuss what they were doing with groups of kids. And so we were trying to figure out how that would work at a comprehensive high school, that maybe you would meet your classes on, you know, we have an A-B day, so you'd have A days on Mondays and Wednesdays and B days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Friday, it would be some sort of open time that you would meet maybe one of your 5 classes in the morning, the second of the 5 classes in the afternoon, for a longer period of time to work on individual student projects. And that would rotate. So the first week of the month, you'd meet with those 2 sets of kids, and the next week you'd meet with the next 2 sets of kids, and the third week you'd have the 5th set of kids. I haven't quite worked out all the logistics of this yet, but the teacher would then only be preparing lessons for 4 days. So that would give them sort of their 20% time to create new stuff. And it would give them, you know, it'd be great to just take the 5th day off, but I don't think parents or anybody else is going to go for that. So on that 5th day, if it's more student-centered and more student-directed, then the students could come up with, what do we do on this 5th day? How do we work with our teams? how does the teacher act more as a mentor and less as a director. The teacher would have, less papers to grade and less direction to do and less performance to give. And we're all trying to get off the stage and let the kids be the directed group. But I teach high school honors chemistry, and hard as I try, Socratic seminars don't really work with students who don't know anything. So, it's hard in a high-level science class to have kids come in with intelligent questions when they have no background in the content. So I think that would give you more time to work with those kids and develop those questions with them rather than hand them to them.
Lee, I cannot wait to see your idea go up on the Guild. Like this, like a solution of thinking about how you look at 20% of time and how you might reschedule like the week. I think that's fascinating. And a question that I have out for, I think I have two follow-up questions sparked by the conversation from all of you. So my first follow-up question is, has anybody looked at other industries that is doing professional learning that has like inspired you? So for instance, I just found something that I posted on the Guild. Like I found out, I don't know if you've heard about like Zappos is supposed to be the most magnificent place to work in the world, and which I think is incredible for a shoe delivery company, and who's managing big inventories. It sounds like the dullest job on the planet to me, even though I love shoes. And so, but anyways, Zappos is supposed to be this like awesome place to work, and they've started a new consulting practice called Delivering Happiness, and how you can really create sort of inspirational workspaces and cultures for in your organization. And so I'm wondering, everybody get ready because you don't know who I'm going to call. Once again, it's like being in class. So would love to hear if there's anything outside of education that you've been like, wow, that was so cool. I wish that we had this in the education sector, or there's lessons that we could learn from this that might be applied in our schools or in our systems, or it doesn't even have to be that. Just be like, I think this is so stinking cool. I wish we could do this too. And someone who posted who was looking a lot beyond education was actually Chris Good from One Workplace. I don't know, Chris, if you want to share some of your thoughts about about how you think about professional learning in other sectors and how it might apply in education.
Sure. So I'm happy to sort of add some thoughts. In the industry that I'm in, I'm a designer. And in my industry, we suffer from all the same challenges that teachers do. There's no time for professional development. Much of it that's prepared for us is canned and doesn't have a lot of relevance to what we're doing. And folks don't have, the time or energy to sit through and do it. Something that I really enjoyed about all of the posts that have gone up in the Discover phase so far have been all the tie-ins to passion or the tie-ins to uncovering something that you didn't already know. And while we were sitting here, and as I knew you were going to call on me, I just knew it was going to happen. I could see the setup happening. I started to think about a TV show that I don't watch at all, but I know others have seen. It's called The Apprentice. Not The Apprentice. I'm sorry, Undercover Boss. Undercover Boss, where a CEO leaves his desk job and goes on the floor and learns what his workers are experiencing firsthand, and gets a totally different appreciation for what his staff and his employees have to live through on a given day, and it changes their life and every time you see that story, it always ends with some very sad, very teary thing where somebody gets some kind of raise or something because now they have empathy for the people that work with them. But there's a lot of learning that happens when you step outside what you know and what you're used to doing, and you do something else completely different. And I think there could be some cool ideas suggested here where teachers step out of what they know and go physically experience something unexpected, and then come back and apply that to their classroom. I don't know what that looks like or how it happens, but that's your guys' job. Yeah, I must have been thinking about Donald Trump. I don't know why I had the
Guys, so I think, I don't know if you guys have met Emma, who's another co-conspirator for the Guild, but she is a big fan of Undercover Boss. I think that's the show that she's like obsessed with. And I also love the chat box that Mary has shared with us about her experiences with Zappos in Vegas. But is there any, I was going to say, who else? I'm looking on the participant list. Anybody else want to jump? Kelly, we haven't heard from you yet. Wondering if you have some thoughts on what you've seen in other sectors that have inspired, that feel inspirational around professional learning that you think would be relevant for the education space.
I used to work in residential treatment center, so I worked as a behavioral. Oh, can you hear me now? Did you hear me from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So I used to work as a behavioral counselor at a residential treatment center. And similar to what was mentioned earlier, we had a schedule where we were with the students for 4 days or 3 days. And every Wednesday, counselors that worked on either end of the week came together and had their own training while the students went on a hiking expedition, essentially. We had naturalists, nature people, and we stayed together. You saw the people from the other end of the week so that you made sure there was consistency in messaging. And we also had someone who came in and talked to us about the social emotional part of what we did. And I think that's really important because we talk a lot, and we've talked a lot about the how of professional development, but I think we also need to think about the what, while still respecting, like someone said, the individual autonomy of teachers. When I worked there, it was a hard job for lots of reasons, not the least of which was you were really connected with the students that you worked with there. And as teachers, it's very, very similar, and there's little to no support around the how do you work with someone in such close quarters, children particularly in such emotional situations, especially around setting limits and classroom management. And there's not a lot of support there. So I liked the fact that that was given its kind of due attention in that setting, and that it was sort of this reserved time each week that we could take care of ourselves and then also learn about how to take better care of our kids.
Awesome. I think that I've got a follow-up question to you, Kelly, that also builds on something that Lee said. But first, I'd love to pass it over to Rachel because I know she's got some wisdom for us.
The microphone's muted on her side.
Oh, I think you might need to unmute your microphone, Rachel.
Oh, okay. Am I?
There you are. All right.
Okay, hi. So, yeah, I was wanting to add on to a couple of speakers ago, talking about getting out of your own environment and jumping someplace new to learn. And I just can offer the best professional development experience I've seen and been a part of recently is the idea of teacher externships. And so at the Sonoma County Office of Education, there is a Career Pathways Trust Grant that's housed there. And teachers are paid to go and partner with industry and community and see their own content standards out in an applied setting. And so, I mean, very much like what we ask the environment, you know, we're asking our kids to learn in these environments. They're contextualized, hopefully now. Hopefully with Common Core, we're doing that better. And I think that content-wise and planning-wise and just developing a sense of community among teachers and at sites, these externships have a lot for us to offer in terms of preparing our students for later on, but also allowing teachers to be inspired by what they see and to see the relevance in the work they do every day.
Things, and what teachers are constantly grappling with is that you're preparing students for an unknown future. And so it's like, what are all the different skills and mindsets and that you want for your students? It also there should be opportunities for teachers themselves to go out and experience these different mindsets, skills, new disciplines as well, so that they're also able to help their students along on that journey. So that idea of externships is one that's been pretty popular within this collaboration. As a build, something that both Kelly said and Lee said was around this question of like delivery. It's not the what, but it's the how. So if you were designing professional learning for other teachers, or if you were to provide wisdom to folks who are designing professional learning, what is the wisdom that you would give them around the how and around that delivery? Are there some nuggets that we can begin to pull out around on that piece? I don't know, Dan, I can see you with your cat. So I don't know if your cat has a response around this. But, if you were to think about delivery of professional development, and, you could even think about, like, if you were to think about the top three nuggets of wisdom you would want for anybody who's delivering professional development, what would they be?
Well, I think about this stuff all the time. So, but the number one thing that I really say that is mostly missing from any kind of thoughtful planning of professional development is the idea that implicit messages should match explicit messages. There are too many teachers around this country today that you could go and you could ask them if they've ever received the lecture on differentiated instruction. And and I see people right now, they're smiling, they're laughing because they've been there and they've done it. And the problem with it is, as soon as you lecture on differentiated instruction, you're defeating your message immediately. Because you've decided at that point that you're going to take convenience over actually demonstrating to people what it is they should be doing. So I think really, if there's any one thing that I would change right now about professional development, it's that people would make sure that they are modeling good instructional practices in all of the professional development that they do. Otherwise, somebody right now in the chat is saying, we tell teachers to differentiate, but we don't do it during PD. And I've gotten into fights with people about that. Because there is absolutely, like teachers want their PD differentiated, partly so they can better experience and see what are the possibilities when it comes to differentiation. And so, that's a really, really important piece to that. But, otherwise, just in terms of designing it, I'm working with the school district right now where we are using the design thinking process to think systemically about what the professional development looks like, as opposed to just planning for one PD day. We're really, trying to take a look at what's the big picture. What do you really want your professional development to look like as a whole? And then starting to figure out what are the individual pieces that fit in with that, as opposed to, oh, we have a PD day next month. What are we going to do? And that comes in a lot of cases because, schools and districts haven't really thought about what they want their teaching and learning to look like and how they're going to best demonstrate that and make sure that people are moving towards that vision at every step of the way. If you're always stuck in a position of, I wonder what we should do now, then you haven't really thought carefully about the entire system that's in place. You're just spinning your wheels.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Kevin, I feel like you're up, my friend.
Hi, everybody. Kevin from Atlantic City area, New Jersey. And yes, it's okay to record me. Dan's comments were the perfect lead in. Hi, Dan. Great to see you. Let me share what's going on in my district. Like Dan, I've been involved with participant-driven professional development for a while. And we are just now at my district beginning to embrace the concept. So this is 2015. And I'm one of the people that have been involved from the very beginning. Our administrators are great, are awesome people. Love where I work. Wonderful folks. And very few in the country that I know of have truly rewired their brains to accept participant-driven professional learning. Even in my own district, where we have a lady who is the head of curriculum, who's wonderful, totally understands conceptually the benefits, still looks at it like, and we're helping, and we're working with her, still looks at it, as Dan said, as, oh, we have a PD day, what do we do? Now, granted, she has moved towards, okay, let's get some teacher choice in here, and we say baby steps. It's hard at times to be so close and see the power and understand what it can really mean for professional development, to be at in an institution that where it is very forward thinking. We're doing amazing things. I teach design thinking every day in my STEAM class in middle school. It's the foundation of my program, and I get the full support of the admins to do that. There are too many administrators that are just wired the other way, that just are wanting to do it the way they've always done it, and are unwilling to take the risk of letting the teachers take charge and drive the process. So I'd be curious to know what others have done. I've connected our folks with others in other districts who, especially in Dan's area, that have been leaders in this, and that's been terrific, but there's not enough of it. We need more of that conversation. That's all I got.
All right, great. I would ask, you can chat me if you'd like to, but I don't know if anybody has any responses to what Kevin asked around what has been successful around working with administrators and folks who are designing professional development days. Have you guys seen anything that has worked that you think that would love to hear if you have any other thoughts? I have hold on. I'm looking at the participant list. Lee, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
Well, this year we're back to actually having some days being offered as professional development days. We haven't had any in about 6 years. So now that we have a few days, we're back to having a committee of teachers deciding about professional development. But we're a K-12 district. And so talking about differentiated instruction, it's pretty tough to plan a professional development day that meets everybody's needs, K through 12. We have a committee called the K-12 Curriculum Committee that has been tasked with planning our next professional development day. And we actually spent the last day doing the whole design thinking process. But it was interesting to me because we spent the whole day sort of going through the process, and then, at 2:45, we're told we need an answer by 3:00. And so, we went through this wonderful process of gathering ideas and people putting out their blah, 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 and then it was like, but now what are we going to do on March 12th, or whatever. So it felt like it kind of got stifled at the end, and we have another meeting the week after Thanksgiving. So I'm interested to see what happens when we go back. Do we get to go back to what data we had collected and what problems we thought we saw, and what Dan was suggesting about looking at the systemic issues for the district, and then designing something new? Or are we going to walk in on December 2nd and they're going to say, well, we need a plan, so here's what we think we're going to do? But it is led by teachers.
Yeah, great. So I feel like that's interesting. Kelly said you had something to add on as well.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about, as I'm listening to everybody, I'm thinking about a question that we've been wrestling with in something called TBAR, teacher-based, forgot the last 2 letters of the acronym. But we had to kind of come up with this essential question. And what we came up with is, how in a professional setting do you balance structural coherence with an individual autonomy, right? which once you get past all the multi-syllabic nature of all that business, it's pretty much like, how do we keep cohesion as a group, but still respect as individuals that we have different needs and desires and wants? And I feel like that's a really tough question, because it applies to almost everything you have where there's multiple people working together towards a common goal. I could apply that to my marriage. I could apply that to my classroom. I could apply that to myself and my colleagues. And just, I think that I don't have a good answer for this is how you do it, but I think the road to the answer is the same in all of those examples. It's relationship. And I think a lot of times there's a lack of trust between teachers and administration. Trust from the administration's part that if they give teachers some choice and autonomy, that they're going to do something good with it. And also in the opposite direction, trust from the teacher's part that if the administrator or administration offers guidance, that it's going to be something that was well thought out and effective and worth their time, and not just something that's just kind of like the next thing, as people say.
Yeah. Cool. I think so. I feel like we've talked about sort of hopes and fears, some trends and common experiences that we've had in the professional learning space. And I'd love for our final 15 minutes for us to like flip and get a little bit more deep. Let's get a little bit more deeper on the solution side. I know we started off with some of the solutions that we heard. We heard a couple different ideas from Mary and Jen and Lee at the very beginning, but now we've heard about distributed learning and the importance of relationships, and Jeff just shared around like teacher collaborative meetings. We've talked about need for variety and being teacher driven, and how we learn like want the same type of learning experiences as our students. So there's a lot of themes that have like emerged from this conversation. Just to share some of the major trends and themes that we saw online in the Guild, and these are the areas that we're going to be designing around in the Ideate phase. The themes are choice and voice within professional learning, how to make it immediately relevant. Don't forget about the soft skills, and also make it playful and inspiring. So thinking about what you've heard from your peers today, and then these different areas, the trends that we were able to pull out from the posts online, I'd love for everybody to take, I don't know, this is gonna be a speed round. Take like a minute and think about, is there an idea or is there a solution? Is there something that you are super excited about? And this is pie in the sky. This is dream time. This is the moment to begin imagining, and anything is possible in this space. And so, but come at it from a lens of optimism, of collaboration, and something that if there was no constraints, that you would be like, yes, let's experiment with this right now. So does that sound good? And if you have something that you are like, yes, I want to share this this solution. This is the type of idea that I want to emerge from this experience. This is the change that I want to see in my school, in my district, and that I want to be part of. This is a moment to like put it out there. We recently, with the Teachers Guild, were able to participate with the First Lady's campaign, Better Make Room, which is around young people between the ages of 14 and 18 setting their intentions around their college and career paths. And I felt like this was so Northern California, since we are thinking about Sonoma County and we're based in San Francisco. I felt like this was very Northern California. But the First Lady basically said, if you say your intentions out loud, if you write your goals down, they have they're much more likely to come to life. And so this is sort of the beginning of that process. All right, I think we're ready to go. And so being very solution oriented, anything is possible. I'm passing it over to Erin.
There, now you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the solution that we're experimenting with in Rincon Valley in Santa Rosa is the idea of consulting teachers. It's a 2-year rotational program that classroom teachers apply for and then are selected through an interview process. And you become a consulting teacher in English language arts and ELD, or in mathematics, or in differentiation, or in STEM. And I happen to be the STEM consulting teacher this year. And the idea behind this is it's teachers that have been in the trenches with other teachers in this district, working with those teachers, either grade level planning or demo lessons or one-on-one instruction, whatever the teacher needs when the teacher needs it, with the understanding that in 2 years, I'm returning to my classroom and someone else will be in that chair in that office. And so it keeps the people that are doing the professional development very connected, because whatever we put into place, we're going to have to implement when we go back into our own classrooms. And the thing that I've done that seems to be the most powerful are those one-on-one meetings. And like I said, I'm the STEM CT. So I've done a lot with how do you use the technology that you have in your classroom? And we found that it starts with building the teacher skills. So at least once every 3 or 4 days, I have a full day of appointments with individual teachers for like an hour long during whatever time of day that they can meet. And I sit down and work with them on building their own skills in how to use, let's say, Google Docs or movie making software or whatever, so that then they can feel like they're ready to teach their kids about it. So that's that idea of just in time, one-on-one, highly differentiated, so that they're ready to learn what they need right then and there.
That's awesome. I feel like thinking about sort of like the relevancy, relationships, the delivery, some of these questions that have been brought up. What could be really cool, Erin, is to actually, you could put that idea up on the Guild, but also think about if there's areas within that idea that you're like, are there pieces of it that you may want to go farther that would be great to have other teachers build on and make your program even stronger? I think this is like the right space for that. I am going to pass it now over to Jeff. Jeff, you're up, buddy.
Hello. What I was mentioning in the chat line is that our school district, prior to when I was here, but I'm thankfully very close friends with the longtime superintendent, they had something called Horicon units, but it was essentially at the school district, we would meet at the beginning of the school year and then twice throughout the school year on selected days set aside. And we would legitimately tackle the most pressing issues at our school, within the community, and say, what can we legitimately do at a concrete level to make not just our school better, not just our students' lives better, but the overall community. And from that sprouted up some programs that, such as Project Santa. That's a program that started with the school district and eventually branched out to the community. And now from Fort Ross all the way through up to just north of Point Arena, we get together as a community. We receive donations for food, clothes, toys, and then a week before Christmas, we go pick up those things and bring them to all the different students' homes. So every single kid, no matter what, has a Christmas. I mean, that just such a basic concept that often we forget that there are a lot of students out there that they won't get a Christmas present or a birthday present or a new pair of shoes. You'd be surprised some of the stuff they'd request, like socks on their wish list. But what was so wonderful about that program was that it was us really saying, what do we need to do for not just our students, but to learn in the classroom, but to truly have a better life. And what was wonderful about it was the district understood that professional development doesn't necessarily have to mean we're going to a class and learning from somebody else. Sometimes the best thing to do is work on what is my personal strength and how can I relay it to my other fellow students. I have a fellow teacher. She's perhaps one of the best classroom management instructors I've ever worked with. I wish I could emulate her classroom management. So a chance to really sit and have a lesson on how do you do that would be wonderful. My biggest strengths, aside from technology and being savvy with it, is I'm very good, toot my own horn, but I'm very good at long-term planning. Before the school year starts, plan out every day-to-day lesson, every homework assignment, every field trip before the first week of school. I've got it planned for English language arts, math, science, and social studies. I'd love to be able to relay and teach my other fellow teachers how to do that. How does my brain work that way? Well, I can't say it in 5 minutes, but I could logically devise a lesson that I could teach throughout the day on here's how I really break down. Let's open up these books. Let's see how we circle and we highlight and we pull in all this information so that you're not spending every evening lesson planning, or you're not having to stay on a Saturday and lesson plan. You got the work done for you. It takes that pressure off. I'd love to be able to teach my fellow teachers that, but the only way that's ever going to really happen is if we re-envision what PD is and also have the support. I have the support of my administrator, but I do think at a certain level, at a really small school district like mine, the board is going to hear professional development means in their idea, somebody should be teaching you something, not teachers collaborate. And I think there's that missing element of how do we get the support from SCO to be able to say, this is professional development. They accept that it's professional development, and therefore we can do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have an idea in there, Jeff, that is around like how do teachers lead their own professional development for one another and get approval from like the county or districts around it. Like it sounds like there's an idea in there, and I would put, I would even push like all of us here. So we've all had experiences in professional development. But what is something that we've never experienced? What are brand new ideas, or what is something that we've heard that someone else has done that you're curious about? Like I know folks want to hear a little bit more from Kevin about ed camps. Would love to, like we can do that when we wrap up this call here. But was wondering, like, does anybody have like something like Lee had talked about earlier around actually totally restructuring the schedule of the entire week to think about how, like, where teachers have planning time and creative time and that time for students? Do folks feel free to send me a chat if you have an idea that you're like, I'd love to put this out there, that you have not done yet. Anybody got anything? Oh, Kelly, you're up, girl.
Okay, so my brother is in law enforcement, and I rode along, and my father was too, and my sister's a probation officer, and I rode along with my brother over the summer, and I went to a house with him. It was in the middle of the night, and there was like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, really, sitting on a couch watching some Disney animated film, and there was chaos around him. And he was so sweetly and just serenely watching this television program, and then chaos ensued, right? Like, so I feel like I'm not doing justice to the situation without over revealing or making it unnecessarily sordid. But what I took out of it was he could go to school. If he was a 7-year-old, he could easily be in the same situation, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. He could go to school the next morning, show up, put his backpack on the hook, sit down, and his teacher would never know what had happened to him, or not even happened to him, but that he had been privy to. And I thought about how can we, honestly, one of my first thoughts was teachers should have to go on a ride along in the communities where they work for the students that they serve. And that's fairly bold, I don't know that legally you could require that. But how do we, again, go back to empathy and relationships? And so I was thinking, like, if there was something that you wanted to learn about as a teacher, you think, okay, who beyond just myself does this issue impact? And then you create like a small study group. So it could say, if you were doing something like equity in the classroom or something, you could say, okay, well, I want to pull in some students, some parents. I want to pull in one of our major community leaders, say a pastor from a church, if the community is really like involved in that, or a police officer, that kind of thing. And just create a group of like 5 to 6 people and meet and talk and maybe have some common texts that you look at together. you read and discuss, maybe some common videos you look at, read and discuss. Maybe you go out to different places and check out aspects of the community that you weren't like as in touch with, but really like get a sense of how does what we're doing in the classroom, how does that reach out to the rest of the world, and how does the rest of the world reach back in?
That's really, it makes me think about like matchmaking. Like how do you matchmake the areas that you want that you want to explore, and have that like full network of folks that you can tap on and be like tap tap. I'd love I know that they have like tutoring programs that are like this. How do you create that same sort of experience for teachers? That's very cool. I know that we are at our time limit. I have Rachel who has one more idea. If you guys are up for hearing Rachel, then we'll wrap with Rachel. And then folks who want to stay on longer and then hear a little bit more from Kevin about ed camps, if Kevin's up for that, we can do that. But we'll wrap with Rachel.
Thank you. So I just wanted to think about for a second, or I've been thinking about as this conversation's been going on, how if teachers really should be in charge of their own learning, and if that is actually valued by our school structure, then that can really lead into our whole evaluation system that currently goes on, and particularly for veteran teachers who are looking to improve in their very own individualized interests and needs. I would like to see a solution tied to around that, around not if we achieve what we set out to, but perhaps a conversation about that journey, just something with evaluation.
What's happening?
I had you muted.
Oh, Brett unmuted me. Sorry. I don't actually have control of this. I don't know if you guys can see Brett, but Brett actually controls everything that's happening in this experience. I'm just along for the ride. But I get what you're saying, Rachel. It's sort of like, how do you create your own teacher journey, and how is your evaluation as a teacher considered more a journey, and how do you get to play a bigger part within that? And there's actually, I feel like there would be a lot of inspiration from other sectors. I know we here at IDEO have journeys. We don't have evaluations, we have journeys. And so you have the chance to sort of craft what is that next mountain you want to go over, and what are the different skill sets you need, but who are the mentors that you need, and who are and then where are the areas that you're not doing that great at that you could improve on to get yourself over that next mountain. I think that's super interesting. I feel like this has been a really magical conversation, at least we feel at the Guild that we have like the coolest jobs on the planet, because we get to be inspired by teachers day in and day out. Not everybody gets to be in that position. And so this has just been a really incredible conversation to help even like our own understanding around the possibilities within professional learning, and just the extraordinary work that you guys do day in and day out. If you did like this experience, let us know, because we could look at how we could do more of these opportunities for folks to speak with each other and learn from one another. We don't even have to moderate. If there's other folks that want to moderate, we're pleased to go into the background. But this has been the way that we hope to use this conversation is, one, just to enhance our understanding with the discover phase, and this is part of like our interpretation and synthesis process before we head into like full-fledged into like the ideate phase of the design thinking process. And so we're going to share this video out with the community so folks can join along. We're also sharing this with build partners who are joining the design journey with Sonoma County, with the Guild community, with this commitment to help bring teacher ideas to life. So a lot of those folks joined tonight, which was awesome to have them here. Any questions, we're always here to answer along the way. And this has just it's been really wonderful to get to know all of you a little bit better. So thank you for joining us. I think we might stop the recording.
Yeah, we can stop the recording, but I just wanted to wait.
Here's Brett, so the mastermind.
I've been next door, but thank you.
And if people want to stay on the line and talk with Kevin, let's do it. I'd love to hear about ed camps too. So Yeah.